Тест, тест. Дали ме слушате на англискиот канал? Тест, тест. Тест, тест, тест. Дали се слушаме? Тест, тест.
Добре, сега почекаме да стигне стримот. Изгасете, слободно.
Тест, тест.
Дали се слушаме? Тест, тест. Там на silent.
да речеме.
Добро.
Пазете
Ја.
дека кога се излучувате микрофонот
Dear guests, I'd like you to take your seats because we shall start shortly. Thank you. Just a short technical information. If you need translation, you have the headsets on the sides of the conference hall. Good afternoon to everyone. I do hope that you can hear me well. Hello, welcome to today's event, with which we will mark the conclusion of the activities on the US CIVIC engagement project. My name is Goran Lazarevsky. I was the director of the project on civic engagement, and I was privileged to lead a professional team of experts that in the past invested a lot of efforts to accomplish the goals that we had underlined to achieve, but also I had the honor to collaborate with many local organizations that wholeheartedly contributed to the fight of improving the processes in partnership in improving the civic society with all the independent institutions and the public sector. Our efforts in the past, in the last 6 years or more, was a period where we faced a lot of challenges, the global pandemics with COVID, as well as the circumstances that we were faced with, and we had to find a way to function. But today, it's a pleasure to conclude that the results that we have achieved gives us the right to be proud of what we have accomplished so far, and to be even more than satisfied with the collaboration with our partners in the public and private sector. And before we start with the working part of today's meeting, it's a great honor to invite the today's present to address the floor. And first and foremost, I'd like to ask Her Excellency Ms. Kate Mary Burns, the Ambassador of the USA in our country, to take the floor, please.
që e kanë njohur reformat që janë bërë mbi korrupsion. Të vendese kryeministres Kërkovska, nga cilat do të pjesë pak më vonë, ajo ka përkushtuar, ajo ka treguar përkushtim të vërtetë për të luftuar korrupsionin dhe për të ndryshuar mënyrën se si qeveria duhet të shërbejë qytetarëve të Macedonisë së Veriut. Qartësisht po shikojmë që vendi po i afrohet PS dhe e dime që qytetarët e Maqedonisë e meritojnë këtë rrugëtim. Shpresojmë që të gjithë ne mund të shikojmë se sa e rëndësishme është për të ndryshuar një sistem dhe një rrjet që mundëson korrupsionit të krijojë dëme të tilla. Si tha edhe presidenti Biden, korrupsioni është një kancer që e han pra të ardhmen e qytetarëve të një shteti, e zvoglon kreativitetin e të rinjve, ajo e dëmton talentin e brezave të tërë dhe i largon investimet dhe vendet e reja të punës. Por derisa kemi bërë progres, pra kemi shumë për të bërë dhe ne të vazhdojmë të qëndrojmë të mbështesim Maqedoninë e Veriut si ashtu si ju do të vazhdoni me trajtimin e të gjitha sfidave që keni para ju, të jenë të gjithë të barabartë para ligjit dhe korrupsionit të mos tolerohet. Për të gjithë shoqatat qytetare që janë këtu, u them që ju duhet me të vërtetë të nderoni kontratën që keni me qytetarëve dhe qeverisë. Një shoqëri qytetare që rulzon paraqet pra bazën e sistemit demokratik të një shteti për të krijuar dialog shumë palësh. Ju po i mbani njerëzit dhe institucionet të jenë llogaridhënës dhe të jenë në shërbim të vetë qytetarëve të saj. Sepse ky projekt, sepse ky takim po e rumbullakon, është takim përfunimtar, ky projekt i tonë, ky tregon se të arritjet që ne kemi arritur dhe të përcaktuar objektiva të reja për të ardhmen. Unë nuk mund të mendoj një kohë më të mirë për të bërë këtë, se sa në mes këtij viti pas samitit të parë të demokracisë nga presidenti Biden, samiti dhe aktivitetet europiane pra kanë të bëjnë të luftojmë kundër autoritarizmit, të luftojmë korrupsionin dhe të avontojmë respektin për të drejtat e njeriut. Presidenti Biden gjithashtu ka thënë që demokracia nuk ndodh me rastësi. Atë duhet ta mbrojmë, të luftojmë për të forcojmë atë dhe ta rinovojmë atë. Rëndësishëm në Maqedoninë e Veriut në mbrojtjen e demokracisë globale. Dhe për të formuar të ardhmen e vendit tuaj. Dhe përderisa edhe kohësime këtë do të vinë në fund, një cifre të qertë edhe kapitull të qertë të Maqedonisë së Veriut, kudo që të jemi të ardhmen. SBA-t do të qëndrojë fuqishëm prapa Maqedonisë së Veriut për të mbrojtur shtetin e së drejtës së Maqedonisë së Veriut. Në fund dua të uroj të përgëzdoj ekipit CEP për vjekjet tuaja, pra shteti nuk do ishte këtu për pa përkushtimin tuaj në rolin e Maqedonisë së Veriut për të pasur një demokraci shumë etnike, pra që është një thella në të vlerat tuaja të NATO-s dhe me zi pres që të shkojmë këtë gjë tonë.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. As Her Excellency said, among us, we have the institutions that are part of a relative meaning with the fight of corruption and society that will be resistant to these kind of threats. And that is why it's important to set up this involvement of the civic society as well as the government. The key role of this partnership play role the cabinet for the good governance policies, Mrs. Slavica Grkovska, who I invite her to address us here today.
Projektit të pjesëmarrje qytetare kanë dhënë një kontribut të shishëm në punën e kabinetit tim me vendosjen e një sistemi eficient për politikat të qeverisë се самира, ни покойно крш, ще беше своите механизми,
важни обществени процеси, кои што имам во
и мине република на Македония период, цела стан работи. Тън да свишме, да примириш, да центруешме демократике, да функционираме политика бадјал, твърдо с бизнес културе, puntim të shtetit të drejtës, si pas legislacionit, pa më parasysh se për të bëhet fjalë.
Ова не е фраза,
Kjo nuk është
ова
një
за мене
frazë, kjo për
е
mua
факт,
është një
кој
fakt
што
që
во суштина ми дава мотивација секој ден, со мојот тим од 12 политички лидери ова да би сакала да благодарам за целиот напор и енергија што ежедневно ги вложуваме, дека тоа за овие работи, за овие принципи, едноставно вреди да се вложиме сите, докато сакаме да градиме демократско општество, кој што ќе имаме служени на граѓаните. Обично се вели дека во денешниот глобален свет никој не може да опстане ако нема своите денеска сме пријатели, кои што не само работата како ангажман истински ниво и преку отворената и искрена подршка што соединетите американски држави даваат преку нашата амбасада. Сегашната амбасада и сите години наназад да изградиме едно такво општество и да практички да ги напредиме сите оние слаби точки во системот кои што се непрекинато постојат. Во изминатите 8 месеци, докато постои кабинетот со реализација нови проекти USAID, успеавме да спроведеме низа активности во повеќе области и да влијаеме врз подобрување на системот. Со планот за работа на мојот кабинет се опфатени повеќе иницијативи кои што се стратешки приоритети на нашата држава, а едно од нив е подобрување на колективната свест и превенција на корупцијата и за јакнување на легитимитетот и честноста во јавноста. Ова е согласите голем предизвик, меѓутоа транспарентноста и отчетноста е основен предизвик за одговорно и ефикасно работење. Принципот за одговорно и ефикасно исполнување на иницијативите под системата одговорност уште повеќе причина повеќе да бидат транспарентни и еднакви на пред јавните е причина повеќе да инсистираме на ваквите активности и да не само да подигнат свесноста во општеството ниво, да подигнат свесноста кај политиците да имаат поддршка за вакви действија. Владата на Република Северна Македонија посвети големо внимание на оваа активност и на тоа постигнавме највисоко ниво на транспарентност според индексот на активна транспарентност, Центарот на граѓански комуникации. Владата е една затворена институција со само 25 членови за 2016 година. Денес во 2020 година се првата позиција членство на Председавме бројни мерки и активности за зголемување на транспарентноста и на отчетноста, не само на владата, со денески мерките очигледно даваат позитивни резултати, бидејќи истражувањето покажаа дека својата активна транспарентност годинове одобила више од 87%. Транспарентноста е важен фактор во имплементирањето на успешни антикорупцијски политики. Овозможува граѓаните, граѓанските организации, както и представниците на медиумите, потесно, побрзо и поефикасно да добиваат информации за работењето на институциите, а со тоа да вршат контрола на нивното работење. Тоа особено важи кога е прашање кршењето на јавни средства, како што реков, и корупционни ресурси, но и на целокупното работење. Важно е да се напомене дека реформа на кабинетот не се однесува само на зголемување на ефективноста и на транспарентност на гражданите институции, него и на активности кои што се однесуваат и на институции кои што не се подобрени под владата, нашите студенти кои што се вклучуваат to that shows the political system. Everyone has to be aware of which use of public money startups
Isto
from
tako
the state they are using bad economic they have responsibility to be accountable to the sources from the whether these money have been spent wisely.
Самиот факт
The fact
дека во
itself
влада на
that the
Република
government
Северна
of
Македонија
North
работи
Macedonia
кабинет за политики за добро
established good
владење, чии
government policies
приоритети се
whose
почет,
priorities are
професионалност на
responsibility,
институциите,
professionalism of
креирање
all
на
those working
антикорупцијски
for the
политики,
state,
како и дигитална
the
трансформација на општеството, е
digitalization
јасен
of
показател дека
the
оваа влада
workplace
одлучително
is very
понатаму во процесот на
important and
изградување на
key
отговорно и
aspect
ефикасно општество кое ќе биде сервис на
efficient
граѓаните.
society which will serve
Креирање и
the
имплементирање на политики за добро
needs
владење
of
мора да биде
the
императив
people
доколку
has
сакаме да
imperative
обезбедиме
for us
долготраен
would like
општествен
to
напредок.
achieve
Меѓународните мисии партнерство на
previous
суседство
month
ни
the
помогна да
partnership
детектираме
has
одредени
helped
слабости
to
во
identify
работењето на
some
институциите
gaps
за
in the
осигурување
work
нивната ефикасност.
to increase
Сакам да
the
му честитам на тимот од
like
за крајот
to
за
congratulate
посветеност
the
и
team
постигањето на
helped
системски
us
решенија
reaching
времени сложностите
systematic solutions to
институциите
meet
да ги следат
these
насоките
challenges
на нашите
and
союзнички препоръки.
to
Сакам да
join
искажам голема благодарност
like to give thanks
за огромната поддршка на американската
enormous
амбасада, огромната
support
поддршка
of the embassy,
кој што
especially
целиот
to
овој
Madam
процес ми даваше не само лично, како институција за да му
has
поддршка,
given us her
имајќи
support,
предвид
having in mind
осетливоста
the vicinity
на
regarding
темите за кои сте
topics
задолжен
that we
кабинетот,
are
ние
charged
сакаме отворено и
without
искрено поддршка од страна на
all the
американската
support
амбасада.
from the American embassy,
Това е
all
одлика.
other
Смятам дека
international partners.
нашиот
I
успех
believe that
беше да можеме
our success
да
would not have been such
и сакам искрено
like
да се
thank
благодарам
once
за
again
моите
from
колеги од
the
меѓународната
bottom of our
система
hearts your engagement. You're going to be very successful at every position
прекрасно е
that you
чувството да
have.
имаме партнери кои што споделуваат
It's
исти
important to have
ценности.
partners
Само
that
на
share
таков начин
the
ќе
values,
може
support
да
and
стигнеме до
happiness,
крај
and we will manage this
нашата мисија
in our mission
да изградиме едно
build
стабилно
upon a
демократско
stable, democratic society,
кое што
which
е
will
на јавна администрација,
where the public
која што ќе
administration
функционира
will
без
function
професионално,
without
без разлика на тоа која политичка групирање на
professional,
влада,
will
без
function
разлика како
professionally.
се станува збор затоа што тоа е целта,
Because that this is our
тоа е
goal in
начинот
the
на
end.
кој што може да ги
That is the
задржиме
way we are going to
нашите
keep
луѓе,
our
да не ја
people here,
да не ја напуштат
not
државата,
leave state,
да влееме надеж на
give
младите
hope to
генерации
the young
дека
generations that are
има
coming from
можност за просперитет во
there is
Македонија, дека
prosperity,
тука е системот
and that
кој што не само
here
ќе
is
ги
the
заштити,
system that
ние
is
ќе
not
ги
going to
обезбедиме
protect
таков
them, but
просперитет.
they are going to
Очекувам
give them
поддршка на
prosperity.
поддршката на сите да продолжи и за година.
I hope that this
Европската мисија што ја споделуваме
project will continue in our
подвижи со
future
голема динамика
much
и
more
дека заеднички ќе ги
tenderly,
совладаме сите предизвици кои што
dynamic.
ни очекуваат
All the challenges
во
that are in
наредните
front of us
месеци
in the
и
period
во
forward.
многу успевно на сите
Thank
кои
you
што
very
бевте
much
дел
to you all.
од оваа наша
You
заедничка
were part
движење
of our
Јунајтед
movement
Инициатив
to
и се
bring to
надевам
us
дека
for
ќе
the next couple of
понатаму ќе
months, and I
работиме
hope that we're going to collaborate.
Throughout the past years, many of the resolutions that we have built within our country were innovative, and most often we needed necessary expertise to implement and support it righteously, but of course adapted to our needs. That is why the experts' help was supported by the USAID'S institution East-West as an institution that implemented this project. It's a great pleasure to ask Mr. Mark Dietrich, the Vice President of the Board of East-West Management Institute from the USA, to address to us today, by which we'll conclude this first session.
Good afternoon, Ambassador Burns and Deputy Prime Minister Zovka, and to all of you who have our partners, colleagues, and friends who have gathered here today to recognize the completion of the implementation of Portage Engagement project. This is a somewhat bittersweet event for the East-West democratic initiative, National Youth
Adin,
Council of Macedonia,
Filin
and the Foundation
Komodar,
for Open Society of
Rinor,
Macedonia.
Macedonis, ve
In
votazione in
addition,
Cogeria Apur,
our success has also been
Macedonia Neveriu.
due to
Dina
our
Shu,
close
Tes
working
Kokače, Kak
relationship with our
Parlani Moro,
colleagues at
Kutin Pasate Kolega
USAID,
Tanan
and I
USAID,
would like to thank USAID for their
USAID
ongoing
per
support of
Svetine Tyre,
United
Tamas
States.
Dueš, ne Udozime, te Pesime, Čeka Pasmano, ne.
Of course, we also need to
Kiriši
recognize
duete
the
Palendorei,
staff in North Macedonia, the
personeli na postavi,
leadership has worked
Macedonia Neveriu,
tirelessly to
Čeka
achieve the
Putu,
project goals. And
Portaritu,
thank you for all your hard work.
obiettiva de proiecti
It's
de
been a
Palendorei
pleasure to
Super,
have you as a part of
Palendorei
the East-West
Male, de
Management Team.
Chimice, Vedvede, Interruptă ce voi face
Uh,
piese, că
CEP
Chimice,
operated in a dynamic
Tepi,
political
Capoluar,
climate that saw an official name change for the country,
dinamiche,
accession to NATO, multiple impediments, finally overcome the start of the EU accession talks, 5 election cycles, a worldwide pandemic, and now
pandemia,
new conflict in Europe.
e conflictul tării ce
Against
urșa în
this
Europa.
backdrop, the project also evolved to focus more directly on
Proiecti
anti-corruption,
mă știu cu fluctuați,
promoting the rule of law,
anticorupțiune,
and
am
strengthening
artimile
transparency.
de dreptate, de
Throughout,
sportive de
however,
transparență.
mechanics
Asociat mecanismi de angajament
helping
constructiv,
CSOs
cu
advocate
asociat
for
avem,
focus areas
asociat avem,
and shape the reform agenda
Utilizare
in
portafolio
data
arte, sectorul bibliotece che portoro
and collaboration with
dana
governments
de ne va spune
citizens,
istituzione de
media,
veritare,
and
studiare
business,
de
and
media,
each other.
de maniere cetri,
These mechanics have remained consistent.
obiectiva cantiere, centru ăștia.
CEP partner
CEPI,
CSOs,
partenere de
branch
CEPI,
leaders, and
gata de
invest
studiare,
in technical
dani,
skills,
can,
tools,
scatăsit,
credibility,
portu arată,
government
ritura, raportări,
assessment,
buone, gestione, civiltare,
policy
portă,
implementation.
portă, derșuar,
They're better able
energia,
to engage
plăstirea, ne ținem
inclusively
spurvală,
with
na to multă
participatory
prăpciene,
discussions,
de discutive,
create
ce
solutions
smară
to
se,
evolving
portă
needs,
fiuar,
and they can
schidie,
operate
ce
more
fac nevoie avem,
transparently,
de
responsibly,
multă, din voi,
sustainably
ce părțesme,
towards North
ne
Macedonia,
părtece să Macedonia, să
addressing
se
the
veliu,
needs of
de
CEP.
streit, rugătivi,
CEP
de boie,
partner CSOs and
partenere
grantees,
de
moreover,
CEPIT, de
have
societatea
become
secretare,
important
de
partners to the state,
grantistă,
source of
ceea ce
ideas
iar
and
ca ce nu ta
resources,
porte percat idee,
make
resurse,
vital
urime, vepra,
contributions to
che
policy
fiuar contribute,
program
răcishme,
delivery.
red limite
CEP
politică,
also helps
CEPIT, de
increase
știu, cam
youth
de cumuar
inclusion and
părtăritură de
engagement.
părcirie, de părcirie de
Over
rime, de
70%
angajime ture,
propelled more youth
atacul
community
și
activism
fructărin,
and protecting the
activism
environment,
rime, părtă proiectul,
promoting gender
de
balance,
disegnator,
addressing mental health issues,
suar cerchet,
increasing youth employment,
mentore,
and
mentore,
tackling other
ricele,
issues of
e
public
bună
interest.
simite de rimbe, sfide ce trebuie să fie
Over the last 3
Ja
years, in
trebuie să
partnership
vede
with
punctul de
the deputy
paritate
prime minister
me
of
cabinetin
CEP has also worked directly with the
Verkovska,
government
tepi
on
kaponua dreto,
anti-corruption
dreto me
and
Severin,
anti-reform.
ne pušone reforma.
Together, we have established a
Partu,
foundation for
che mi iuar,
change in the process,
temel,
procedures for government
darnen,
transparency,
de de
anti-corruption,
transparență, de
rule of law,
anticorupțiuni, de
judiciary,
sudivinități de
and support of
dreptă, să
government
ne vecea
institutions,
tipă de procesul de
data
civiltare, de
available
secțiuni,
to
mă
the
da
public.
socială, publicul.
While these achievements are impressive, especially for
Impressive,
central and
Considerando
municipal
se si non posso
work
vivere
remains,
centro ore
and as
locale,
this project ends, we
nel
are
fatto che porto
confident
chi proiect
that given
ne
the foundation we
temikenar,
have built,
temike,
the
di
ongoing
fatto
commitment
che
to North
temeli in
Macedonia
certi guarda metani
and its people,
de
many more successes
uroem
lie ahead.
succese,
We wish
ce
you
veri să
good luck,
primis de veriu, de
further
pompuite sai,
success,
uroem
and again, thank you
succese,
for
până
your
mă succese,
partnership
mă
and
succese,
support.
mă fac de reciu, fac de ce voi fac de partea, de fac de ce voi fac de reciu.
и ви пожелаваме много щастлива измина.
Thanks, Mark. I would like, at this present time, I would like to give thanks to the three our guests here, and to invite them to return to their posts. I would like to give thank you to you all for your support. It meant a lot, and we believe that our joint efforts and work will be in the focus. Thank you very much. Mrs. Kirkovska will remain at the panel session. I would like to ask our panelists to come forward. Mr. Baril Yashari, German Filkov, Mrs. Biljana Ivanovska from the State Commission for Prevention of Corruption, and Mr. Luzim Haizeri from Agrigostever. As Mark said in his previous address in the last period, the CEP, the Civic Engagement Project, was involved in the previous period. The CEP has focused on a wide scope of activities, the direct activities for the prevention or fight against the corruption, and that is only part of our work in the last period. And the support was focused on the many number of grants. Over 150 grants were awarded to NGOs. But what was here in the last 3 years was we focused on was the fight against corruption. That is to say, the strengthening of the institutions, the support for the strengthening of the institutions within the fight against corruption. From these, therefore, we've assessed that it is good for us as a first panel session to pinpoint the fight against corruption, because we all know that is a priority of ours in our society, and the expectations in this area are very important and very big, and there is much room to maneuver within the society. Therefore, I would like to for the debate, to define this debate. Well, we define this debate as a series of question and answers rather than ordinary PowerPoint presentations in order for us to discuss these issues. Well, we were discussing these issues for the last years, and we all know what has been done in the previous period. And therefore, I would like to begin with informing our guests here what has been realized and in this last period. And I will begin with the Deputy Prime Minister for Good Governance Policies. We know that we've partnered with the CEP and began with the forming of the Cabinet for the Good Governance. Well, good governance policy, this term is a new term in our society, but the support of the project was focused for establishing a road, establishing the principles for the good governance, for those principles to be recognized within the and known to the public. It is very important when we established the contacts within and to establish this cabinet, for this cabinet to be known within the political system. And therefore, we've decided to focus our support in that line. Well, looking back of 8 months, as we've mentioned this, I would like to ask, what are your what was the support of ours of the civic engagement project, and how was it targeted for you to meet those challenges as your mission? Please address the floor. Does this function? Can we hear each other? Yes. Well, I would like to thank you for your question put forward. We, because our mandate began when this government was appointed, halfway on the appointment of this government, and having in mind that creating policies for this cabinet of good governance policies is this is a first-time occurrence in our country, and this was a huge challenge for us, because on January the 18th, as well you know, that was our first working day, and we're facing a health crisis with an energy crisis. Everyone thought that the city of Skopje will be without central heating. We were faced with creation of positive climate for creating conversations, establishing conversation groups with the Republic of Bulgaria. As for the other colleagues that were part of the already established government, I was supposed to create my own team and to define the plan and the program of the cabinet, which will focus its activity in the next period. And it wasn't easy, I have to say, because and I'm very thankful to you all, because without the help of this project, of USAID project, I wouldn't have been able to surpass these challenges in the way that I did. Fortunately, we've found a joint solution. Of course, the government managed to reach quick decisions to surpass the energy crisis in that period. We've managed to deal with the health crisis as well within the public schools in order to decrease the crisis and not to surpass the number of infected staff. And of course, we've communicated with the Republic of Bulgaria, and we've managed to put forward the plan of for working of the cabinet. I'm very proud of my team. I'm always saying this because we've passed a process of joint creation of this our working plan together with USAID, because for me it was important and is important, especially that part that is part of the General Secretariat, and every one of us carry their responsibilities to be part of the trainings of our team, but to underline that they have to be part of the public administration, and the professional working and professionalism of the way they approach their work is a rule number one that have to be upheld, whether I am at this position or another is going to be appointed to. So for who is going to be regulating the workings of this cabinet. The activities that we're taking with USAID resulted with defining the working plan of the cabinet of this year, and it was important for me as well, and with the support of USAID, for creating a partnership relationship. I'm underlying this partnership relations with all partner institutions. Well, we are talking here about fighting against corruption, that are this in chain, that are working on these issues as well. Whether we are talking about independent institutions, autonomous institutions, they all have the responsibilities to uphold for each of them, to do them in a professional manner, interinstitutionally, and cooperation among institutions. You know, we have to build on this strength, because only one weak chain, weak link in this chain will contribute for the decrease of the strength of the system, and the corruption, of course, will prevail in that way. I had to underline this work approach because I exceptionally esteem the workings of these institutions, and I stress that we have to work with partners we have to mention that the independence, the autonomous workings of the institutions, we do not have to, we must not look this as a privilege, but as a commitment, as a responsibility that we have towards our citizens. And of course, each of these institutions has to be aware for these arguments and for us. And I would recommend not to use this as a paravan, for example, as a curtain where we will hide, because they have responsibility to decree, but with these secrecies, you're going to go against the fight against corruption. With the continuous working and partnership with the State Commission for Prevention of Corruption was very successful. We will agree with Biljana that the civic society is a very important segment which we insist on including within the system. I would like to give thanks for the cooperation that we have with the CSO network that we're working towards the good governance policies. We have monthly meetings, and we have some kind of results from those meetings, as well as the inspection council, the evaluation of the law, of the possible weak links within the laws, how to surpass this, for appointing the inspectors. And these tools has managed to coordinate activities of the inspection services and to decrease corruption when appointing inspectors on the field. Of course, thanks to this project, we will continue with working. We are going to be funded by DEVO, and with the support, with the activities of the USAID, but as well as, and one of the most important parts of the program is the work with youth, because within the part of our activities and the commitments of the cabinet, we know that I'm responsible for monitoring of the realization for the ethical code, whether the authorities are upholding the law, because I believe that one of the pre-requirements for each and every one of us, appointed, elected authority, whether he's a public office holder, whether he's performing his duty with integrity, that the task that he has in front of him. For example, an ownership of the private business, of course, this rule of integrity has to be #1 issue. Therefore, we've began with the campaign, It Depends on Me and You, as a motto for this series of activities that we're working on as a cabinet, as I mentioned, with the corruption within the sport. And I would like to mention the activities with the youth, and everything that we've done regarding the integrity issue. Apart from these joint discussions that we've had so far about the integrity among youths, it was accepted, this idea jointly with our partners of the project, to choose a prime minister and minister to come to the government, to sit at a government session, which in 10 years' time will be in a position to decide upon and to be on these positions that will decide on severe issues. And therefore, I believe that we have to underline the issue of integrity and discuss this issue with the youths, what is expected of them in the future, and that we lay our hopes within their realm. A different approach in the functioning of the whole system, whether this system, whether the state sector, well, I see the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance. Congratulations to you all for the second session. There are many activities, and I might have missed out on this, but I believe that we have to be satisfied with this. In the beginning, Goran said to us, "Well, you're very ambitious with your plans. This will last 2 or 3 years, and of course." We're going to do this evaluation what we have done so far and what we have planned so far. Only, for example, some areas that we have not achieved to do in the previous period. I would like to give thanks to all that it wouldn't have been possible without your support and the American Embassy.
Thank you. It is true, practically our collaboration in the past period, at least a year now, it was always direct. I've almost had an office in your building premises, and it's a great it was a great satisfaction that when we do activities with an effect afterwards, when you do something that you share it with young, ambitious people and you see the results, the fruits out of it, because they're interested in what they're doing and what they're working, and they want to achieve success. And they even pressure you to cut down the deadlines and do things even faster than we are used to. But anyhow, it is very difficult. That's why we said, and I'm not going to go into detail today separately, because CEP in this 6 years period and the last quarter, we have more than 1,800 people engaged into our meetings and conferences and events, including our partners. We have had different trainings, and in the 6 years course period, we have more than 6,000 people that were engaged on the CEP. It was overly ambitious. It will be overly ambitious if we delve into a partial elaboration explanation today on each and every respective training or event, but what's important, and it was highlighted by the Vice President of the government, even when everyone is working jointly, when it's collaboration and partnership, that as we have now among institutions, and we have honest collaboration, building different societies, a long-term process. Even then, it would be even longer without such joint collaboration. But building a society that will be resilient to corruption based on policies of good governance requires continuous engagement, but by each and every one of us. A good example of such collaboration we have had in the past with the Anti-Corruption Committee, that is SCPC, and State Commission for Prevention of Corruption is such a good example, with which we had in the past many targeted activities according to the necessities and priorities of the SCPC Commission. Also, in the past, by the governmental side, they address by themselves part of the needs, namely, as the media followed, some material resources and stories were shared. Also, when it comes to the employment, which is a chronic problem within the SAPC, they received some support from the government when it comes to employment as well. And this support was a solid foundation for the Commission functioning and achieving good results that we as citizens do accept from the Commission. Hence, the SCPC got a chance to undertake the position that they should have within our society. And we as a project interlinked with them. We had a series of meetings with them where the main goal was to find out what do they need what our friends from the SCPC need, and what is the best way within the framework of our mandate or term of office to give our support and help or assistance. So now I'd like to hear from Biljana Ivanovska, President of the SCPC, on which activities do they focus, and why did they choose exactly the activities that they have chosen, and to pinpoint the reasons for that. Thank you, Goran. It's a great honor and satisfaction as the President of the SCPC Commission to reflect, especially in regard with the assistance that we have received from USAID'S through the civic engagement project, because there were other projects as well supported by USAID, bearing in mind that corruption is a symptom directing how down the managing with the state funds is going from one side, and from the other side, this highlights that we have a systematic corruption that within our country, and it is clear that in order to eradicate this, we need to raise the level of the awareness of the public officials that are an integral part of the system functioning in our country. From here, we separately addressed our necessity on building a training system throughout which we are going to influence in this segment we will work with all public officials or public servants when it comes to raising the awareness and showing them how important is integrity. The Vice Prime Minister Grukovska mentioned how important is the professional approach in doing your job, and from the other side is the ethical code of conduct, establishing mechanisms to monitoring the respect of the code of ethics. And thus, with your support, we managed to build the training center. We received with the project support and assistance when it comes to technical resources from tablets, computers, headphones, translation, interpretation booths, simply to conduct training of 20 to 30 persons, with one training to be trained. Also with the ministry from MISA, we communicated with them and give them an opportunity to all newly staffed to go through this system of training on anti-corruption from MISA, from the ministry, and afterwards to include and engage all the public officials within the governmental system. We do believe this way to increase the efficiency, not only within the SCPC, but the efficiency of the staffing of all public institutions within our country, and also to decrease the costs for the maintaining this kind of trainings, because because now we have our premises, so we don't have to spend money on such things. Also, we are going to have scheduled terms on 3 topics that are going to conduct simultaneously via the project on e-learning. So I do honestly hope that in the forthcoming period, the coordinative and preventive role of the SCPC Commission will prevail, and through such trainings, we are going to enhance the awareness of the public officials. Yes, when we discussed, we highlighted before the training center was established, which is a legal obligation too of the SCPC. And due to these reasons, in order to accomplish the entire terms of office of the SCPC, we are approached to support of such kind. Why? Because in order to implement this support, you have to fulfill several conditions which the donors side is looking for, and to enable past sustainability, because the premises are within the SCPC's building offices, and also to have staffing and finances for flawless operation of the equipment that is within the training center. Also the friends and the participants and employed that are going to be working within the training center. And what was very important for us in this period, and for which we have agreement from the SAPC Commission, is that this training center is going to be from the business sector, from the civic organization, because we want the training center to turn into an institution that will enable certified trainings as well, and to change essentially and crucially the quality of knowledge, know-how, and the scope of knowledge in the regard of this respective topic. And this, when we opened this center in my addressal, I wished for the training center premises to become even small and to enable bigger premises for serving a larger group of personnel and trainees. And also we developed a software model for the principle of my appointment, where the client's guests will be able to book a term or make an appointment for a training within the training center of SCPC. And the main challenge to build capacities will leave, for which goal we define curricula and lessons to be built. And the most important segment, once we enabled all the resources, is also to have high-quality experts and lecturers coming from the SAPC, brought from the civic sector as well, and to have a build partnership on the long run and develop this idea further. For sure. Please.
I would like to mention that together with the support of this project, our cabinet has practically doing training for integrity for appointed and elected officials on behalf of the government. Our cabinet, together with USAID, has trained 140 officials, public office holders. And not only that, we've done training of trainers, and that is in line what we are talking from the first moment, that this cabinet is going to produce not momentaneous solutions, but long-term solutions. With this training of trainers, together with my team that are employed at the General Secretariat, they are going to be trained, and they were trained practically to do these trainings for integrity, for abiding this code of ethics, so we can independently from the workings of the General Secretariat to perform such trainings of the appointed office holders appointed from the government. Yes, I would like to mention this. That is very interesting to mention within the communication when doing the trainings. In the beginning, they were understood as a pro form, but it was very interesting to learn when the training was at the end, together with our expert that was holding this training, and we discussed this when they were the participants became aware, because very rarely anyone has read the law. They became aware of the challenges that were in front of them, and there was this discussion among themselves about the awareness, and they've asked questions regarding their work and how to improve and prepare new code of ethics. And that was very important to our working. When we're talking about strengthening of the awareness of that, getting to know these the people, and get these people to get to know their rights. And when one does not know their commitments and rights, they do not dedicate themselves so much to their workings. We have to define the responsibilities and the tasks that are in front of them. And then it becomes, the office holders realize what the function means, and that is very what I can see in this line. Of course, he manages many risks when in this position. When talking about trainings and the code of ethics, and one of the topics in the future might be the discussion with the CPC, that they might become a part of the training center workings activities. Apart from this training center, which was important to establish, of course, the greatest challenge when we are talking about is the establishing of the national strategy that was set last year, and it is very important that the CPC had monitored this implementation, because for many years we did not monitor this establishment of this strategy. In this case, the CPC has prepared annual reports for the progress for the implementation of the national strategy, and at one of the meetings we've discussed and agreed upon what the challenges that are foreseen with the national strategy, but are not part of the responsibility of the CPC, because there are many sectors from the public and civic sector. And I would like to share a part of the activities that we had in this sphere that are very important and contributed to the increase of the realization of the activities. Well, apart from the training center that was established, of course, we had activities, and we've discussed this in the long run. Apart from the critics that we've got from abroad, the reasons because everything lies in the mindset of the society, and we are underlying the activity with the training center. Well, of course, we have other activities as well for the workings of the CPC, as you said, the software for the monitoring of the realization of all the activities of the institutions that are mentioned in the national strategy. Exceptional tool for us to work with, and give us an image of what activities were realized. And we've managed to put forward a report to the government, and I don't know what were the reasons why they have not adopted this report, and this does not give us the line forward to, but what is important here, that we are working with the tool, we are monitoring the data. This project has enabled us, according to the recommendations that were given to us, with the two analyses. One of the analyses for the assessment of risks when employing office holders, with issues of nepotism, clientelism, and this is a very good tool. But the results are not so good, as the data that we've received are not so good. But the recommendations given within the document prepared with the USAID support on this project in the area for the mismanagement of the discretionary rights in the spatial and urban planning. So this means that so the point is not to prepare the documents or to detect the gaps, but or to give recommendations, but we have to achieve results when we have to mention what activities were realized, and of course, as you said, when the patient has accepted its diagnosis and has taken its medicine. And of course, we are going to work according to recommendation and do the work against this systematic corruption. Yes, when we discussed this, we've underlined this issue, that the activities that we are taking with the Deputy Prime Minister for Good Governance Policies are part of this national strategy, and the activities in the educational sector. Of course, for us to implement in the curriculum these topics to be discussed, but one important segment to be involved regarding the realization of a national strategy was the strengthening of the resistance of the inspection services, the strengthening of the institutions themselves and the employees as well. Because of the circumstances, we had not the opportunity, yes, but we've discussed for the realization of covering all the inspector services in fight against corruption. Therefore, I would like to listen to the point of view of from the civic society colleagues. According to me, we have the leading staff here that can talk on this topic, and here present. Metamorphosis, Skopje, whose representative is Radio Lishari. He is our partner from the beginning of the project. We have cooperated practically together in this organization, and this cooperation is covers a much greater area than we are going to discuss here regarding the civic society activities. But when we are talking about fighting against corruption, accountability, transparency, and transparency of the workings of the institutions, the main point of the cooperation with Metamorphosis was this. We had several events, participation of many people, but I would like to ask you, but to hear your opinion, what was the support of ours, and what did you gain from this? You have the floor. Thank you. Yes. It was mentioned previously that the trust of the citizens within in the institutions is very important. To strengthen this trust, to establish some kind of wholesomeness in the cooperation and communication within the civic society and government, and for everything to be transparent. And that is why this is a very key component for the rule of law to exist. And therefore, we've engaged ourselves on working for the transparency. On one hand, we've did research, we've monitored the institutions' the activities, and we've done an openness activity index according to 100 indicators. We've measured the functionality of the centers on the territory of Macedonia. And not only did we measure, but we've gave percentages of the openness of each institution, which and we've given recommendations. This USAID project has not stopped here. Through coaching and mentoring, we worked at local level with institutions, and of course at central level with institutions, to improve their transparency, to take measures, concrete measures, to be more open in their activities, because we think that this openness, when this removal of these barriers for us to have this data, in this way we can maintain the trust of the people. And we believe in that direction we can manage and we will uphold the democracy in our society. What is important here, and the key important segment of the project, is the workings with the cooperation of the Ministry of Information Society, is the law for access to data of the from the public sector, and the law on open data. And we're working on new laws, on this new law, to improve on it, so we can get access to automatic access to these data from the public sector. So we can strengthen the awareness that these data and information that the public sectors have in their possession are in the ownership of the citizens themselves, and they're in the service of citizens, of course, if this does not cover private data. And yes, we are working in this direction and on this law for open data. We've done many trainings for public office holders at central level and at local level as well. And we've liked to, when talking about openness of data and use of data, this is not an abstract thing. And with opening an access, having an access to the data, we can use these tools that will show what is the achievement and what will the society will gain from it. Of course, how they are used, and they have many functions and purposes. Of course, the digitalization plays a vital role in the decrease of corruption, because we have here currently in Macedonia we have a relatively good laws. We have a good institutional sort of framework of the institutions, but apart from strengthening the capacities in their activities, the digitalization can contribute towards the decrease and prevent corruption. But this has to be done with a plan. We have to approach this with a strategy to analyze the processes, to enable to disable this kind of process of corruption. Of course, we have these examples with the public procurement process, but we have to work with this with a plan in mind, and we have to contribute to prevent and to decrease corruption. Thank you, Badal. I think that you've answered to my next question that I would have liked to put forward. What should we focus on? Yes, of course, digitalization is a principal recommendation with your sector on the basis of your experiences, I believe. Yes. Further on, I would think that this institutional framework, legal framework that we have already, has to be functioning to strengthen the institutions, the ones that are not covered with digitalization. And this can guide us to a step forward to manage systematic coverage. But it's not enough for digitalization to occur. We have to communicate with the citizens. We have to communicate directly through the NGOs, through the government, what are the conditions and what are the priorities that the citizens have and have to deal with. We have to make a system for the check of the quality of those services to provide good quality service. For example, not to have here some kind of solutions that are implemented, and after a while, when certain regulations are changed, for these services to be not to be updated or not to be a service to the citizens. Of course, we have to mention with this digital transformation is the safety, the security of data, this for the citizens to be protected with their data, and the safety at technical level for all to have the capacity to respond for all the services that were provided, that to be of quality and to be secured. That's what I believe has to be done in the future, and I'm glad that this government has recognized this digital transformation and digitalization as one of the key important issues to be dealt with. And we have to use this positive mindset of the government to put concrete projects which will not be an ad hoc implementing of introduction of services of some kind of institution, but to be strategically planned in the, from the beginning, and to set the priorities and the needs of the citizens and the businesses. Yes, thank you. Here you go. Yes, I would like to add upon this what is important to this, having in mind that a successful fight against corruption can be achieved with a teamwork, with coordinating work of all the institutions, because each has competencies in a certain area, and we have each institution has to address their own competencies. Within the digitalization area, it's very important to us all, because I expect in this line to decrease the discretionary rights of all institutions, of all public office holders, because this will cost our country a lot, because the system will pay too much money for some kind of discretionary rights that everyone uses within the education and this input that the society gives us when training public office holders in abroad. Of course, the digitalization can help a lot in this direction in setting of appointing the right people to the right positions, and for our system to function in the right way, and of course in fight against corruption. I would like to ask just a short while to give a short assessment of what was said, reiteration. The program for creating policies for good governance has been based on three pillars: digital transformation, efficient institutions. These are complementary issues, and that is so. I would like to give thanks to the support of the USA, which together with the Memorandum of Cooperation with Estonia has enabled us to have a systematic approach that our country has not had so far. We are securing tools, e-tools, but we are lacking a systematic approach. I have to underline this because the digital transformation of our society, in the most part, is from the legal standpoint of view, when the institutions are prepared, and at the last segment is the technical issues as a legal remedy. The digital transformation I am expecting for implementing changing the mindset of our society and what are our commitments towards society and citizens, and to provide cybersecurity for us to convince the citizens that this state provides secure data which can be digitally exchanged. And so this we can coordinate together with USAID, because it is a very important issue. As you said, a systematic approach, systematic approach and coordination of all the activities that we have in front of us in the sphere of the digitalization of our society, because there are individual projects that we are putting in front. We are spending money of the budget, of the taxes that the citizens pay, and we have to use this most efficiently for our needs, but we do not have that luxury, and we mustn't allow this luxury to spend and for these projects to be funded from different sources. So for example, there are projects that are overlapping, and we have to bear this in mind that this can occur. And we've done this with the donor conference in the sphere of digitalization, and we're going to insist for this principle to be upheld in the future for all the projects that will be funded by the donors. Yes, the digitalization is successful as the people that is implementing it, but the contact that with the people on the field, with the citizens, there is no alternative to this. Therefore, we've communicated with the Democratic Center for Civil Communications. Association of Democratic Initiatives. And for example, we were working for fight against corruption at local level. Let's go.
What did the analysis show according to USIM? What are the directions that show corruption? The battlefield is bigger when it comes to fighting corruption, but the challenge is larger once you start working for the citizens' sake on local level, in tackling corruption on local level. Although this field has not been addressed properly, the websites reflecting transparency of municipalities are not the same among the same municipalities. Some of them are very poorly covering the information. There is not enough information. The institutional memory is not functional, or the code of conducts that they do adopt are missing on the website, so we do not know whether they have them or not, or integrity policies documents and similar. But the approach was more holistic, especially the survey and the monitoring of their websites, direct contacts with employees within with the municipality staff. I'm going to mention some numbers so as to avoid the focus of the conference to be just on policies measures. Let's see what is the perception of the citizens and how much money are they being asked for, and what does the standard living of citizen look like. 85% of the municipalities of the largest cities in Macedonia where lately corruption has increased. So we're talking about analysis of a survey conducted in October 2020. According to the citizens, the most important factor of corruption is for the people on authority to get rich overnight from 12 to 7%, and the least important factor is the salaries of the office holders. 5.8 on the scale of 1 to 7. Unanimously, the interested parties from the interviews believe that the not having trust in the institutions is the main factor not to report corruption. Around 20% of the citizens confirmed that some of their relatives or friends were asked for a bribe, over 42.3% from the requests for being bribed of a friend or relative who are coming from healthcare institutions. They ask a bribe for a surgical intervention or to have a doctor's checkup within these institutions. It is interesting to mention that 90.7% is from the police, 8.5% from the judiciary. This is an average from all 5 municipalities of Stipt and the others, Kavadarci, where also we have a large percent of corruption in the customs, which is directly interlinked with their everyday work. There's one data which encouraged us to move into another direction, with stating 2/3 of the respondents did not give bribe when they were asked for. On the contrary, they gave the bribe. 75% of the citizens do not know how to report bribe, especially in cities as Resens, Kostivar. Citizens are not informed. they do not know how to act when somebody asks bribe from them, or from the other side, the not having the lack of trust within the suitable institutions fighting against corruption is low. So we went. We had field visits in these cities. We tried to engage the youth with attractive content to boost citizens to get informed about tackling corruption. So we focus more to point them out what is the term of office of this SCPC Commission. And in some cities where we had representatives from the SCPC present by themselves physically in an open, direct conversation with the citizens, they led them to the procedures, gave them information, what to do, how to do it, how to report bribe. These things should be analyzed more on a regional level, delve into deep, whether from region to region there are differences when it comes to corruption in these municipalities and so on and so forth. One of the things resulted from this analysis and research is what the information that the citizens lack information on the existing mechanisms fighting corruption, and also lack of information on their citizens' rights, how to acquire, receive data and information by the citizens that are of public interest, which means this tackles the agency on access to information of public character. We had a set of events there organized. Yes, this was the best part of this program, of this project, that is. I'm glad that we have the representatives from the Agency of Protection of Free Access to Information of Public Character here with us, who were well prepared and attentive to our activities. In the collaboration with state institutions, we have overlooked with those of skepticism, and the members of this agency for free access to information of public characters, we had a great collaboration, even more. We had a better collaboration we strengthened the collaboration by raising the percentage of giving information of public character by the side of all institutions competent to give such information of share information of public character. So then we started preparing a guideline to appoint as official person to disseminate information of public character, because we do believe that this function is very important to increase the transparency of the institutions from one side, and from the other side to create a society where we would have engaged and actively engaged citizens who will ask information what they need for, what tackles them, to have the right to information of public character. Also, we prepared a guideline with all necessary comprised documentation on how for these designated persons to work within all institutions and to make their job easier. We also focused, aside from the IT sessions that were conducted regularly as an integral part of the program within all 5 cities, where the representatives from the agency took active participation. We were thriving all together, which was a result of one joint brainstorming session to work more with the youth, to encourage them to be more actively engaged. That is why we drafted a guideline that the agency is going to promote more among different institutions and schools, as the youngs that you have been preparing for the future on finances or ministries or prime ministers, so they would be able to ask accountability from the respective institutions, and many more. I don't want to waste your time any longer. Yes, we were strengthening the both aspects, the offer and demand, so as to increase responsiveness. And in that context, the support that we had from the Center of Citizens Communication, Mr. German Filkov. We often talk about one topic in regard of procurement. We had one collaboration, even surpassing that collaboration. Please shortly inform us about the activities you had.
Good afternoon from me as well. The activities that we've done, I will, it will take me until tomorrow to cover everything that we've done so far. But one of the main idea was the public spending to be for public good. Macedonia is a very poor country. We are spending donors' money so we can address the budget requirements, and it would be a shame for these money not to be spent rationally for the benefit of the citizens. Therefore, we've covered many aspects. Our principle of work is such as this. First, we look whether the legal framework allows this. We are trying to manage the scope, how this is implemented in practice. We are looking at this approach as well. And of course, we'd like to offer to the citizens a way how to brought to light some there are many data in the public institutions that disclose to us many issues that will improve the lives and work of our citizens. Just to keep it short of this our 3-year cooperation, our recommendations became part of many laws and regulations. I would like to mention the public procurement law, where we've managed to introduce article for transparency and fight against corruption. There are many suggestions that were accepted for the law for prevention of corruption and conflict of interest. The national anti-corruption strategy as well, the national action plan for the government cooperation, the government strategy for transparency, and many other analyses of ours. What we would like to do is for the government not in 3 years' time to buy 50 cars without giving a reason why is that has to be. And we would like to manage for mayor, for example, not to buy a car whereas the municipality does not have on or fire engine, for example. For the public institutions not to spend the money so easily. And we've managed this, as a friend of mine said, is it better to have a grade A in policy for conduction, for ethical conduct, or to have how we manage the integrity by behaving ourselves on the field. I would like to add one more sentence. Yes, there are international analyses that point whether we succeed to save at least 50% of these budget funds for fight against corruption. In the GDP will be increased for 11 to 13%. Yes, thank you, Biljana, for this input. I would have liked to mention. For the Deputy Prime Minister, we are talking about the regulations, the strategies as well. But it's important to tighten the scope that we cover. Of course, you're tightening of the scope today, but when you follow the practice, you will realize that there is another area to discuss and work on. So, as the author for the UN Organization for Fight Against Corruption says, there are always 2 steps in front of us, just to manage for us to put 1 step forward to narrow down this scope. of conduct, to see the gaps, and I feel sorry because there is this atmosphere within the institutions and the government, but I hope this will change in the future. When one institution finishes their job, this is the key gap here in our fight against corruption. We cannot have one institution that does its work and another institution to say, so we don't have enough data to work upon this issue. This is not our line to cover. We must not allow this. If each institution does its work within their scope, for example, we have this special vice president for the corruption right now, because it's a low-risk occurrence. So to act upon corruption, well, you can go to prison, but you might not end up in prison as well when you are being corrupted. So we follow the practice. We know where the gaps are, and we have to do a joint effort with our permanent partners. We can do a step forward, and not to forget, for the first time in 30 years, this year the citizens of our country, as a number one issue, was fight against corruption. This is not the top issue is not the political instability or unemployment. The people realize that all these years, this is due to corruption.
As it was said, practically the processes have been initiated lately. We have movement and partnership among all competent authorities, and for the end of this session, I'd like to remind us for whom we are doing all of this. We had the opportunity to work with the youth. Every and each of you mentioned the youth. That is why we decided, instead of me closing this session with a formal addressing, we'd like to ask from one of the representatives from the youth present here with us today to get across the message in regard with their expectations from us. I'd like to ask for Lucia Migrinovska to share her experiences and what are their thoughts on what we are talking about today. Dear Vice Prime Minister Slavica Grgovska, dear Excellency, dear representatives, dear young ones, I'm Alicia Migrinovska. I'm a high school student in the fourth year of the high school, and we were engaged in many workshops, debates, surveys, where we studied how to recognize integrity and ethics in our everyday lives, and we learned about it. And we, as young ones, what should we do to avoid such bad practices, endanger our possibilities, endanger our lives? I'd like to use this opportunity to say thanks to USAID's support in this project. It was a great pleasure to hear about the future plans and activities, and we can all agree that in building a society that without corruption or corruptionless, we would need many reforms. We would have to tackle many challenges and it would be a very long-term, exhausting process. But throughout the conversation with the youth, we came to a mutual conclusion that the main prerequisite to tackle corruption and have a sustainable fight are our resilience in building ethical and anti-corruption practices. Today I'd like to address you on behalf of my generation and the youth from our country that are building, shaping our future in this country. We do want to believe that the changes for the better are possible, and that all of us can create a society in which with the rule of the law, equality before the legislation, equality when it comes to right and dignity will prevail. But also I'd like to get across one message. You are living in our generation, and our generation is living in the time of you making decisions. So please follow the step of our young generation. We have been collaborating through our council, and this year we are going to organize an event, National Youth Summit, with all the high schoolers from our country. We are going to adopt a declaration with our proposals and send it to all relevant authorities. Please take seriously our consideration, and with the partnership with USAID and other donors, provide us with society where we would like to stay, develop, and where we would like to live in. And now I'd like to ask for all the project participants to stand up and greet all the ones that strongly supported this project. Thank you.
Thank you. For example, we've invited over 240 participants. So and a few came, but of course this is a generational appeal and we would like to take this into consideration for the future. We have many things to say, and we've gone into the next session. I would like to thank you. Please take your posts, and we would like to give you broadcast this video, with which we tried in 6 minutes to cover information for these 6 years past, short interviews with our partners. In the meantime, we are going to prepare for the next panel session.
По-добро општество е процес кој зависи од партнерскиот однос меѓу сите засегнати страни. Граѓаните и јавниот сектор преку граѓанските организации беа поддржани во овој процес и склучивме долготрајни партнерства кои ќе обезбедат подобри политики за сите, подобра борба против корупцијата, владење на правото во земјата, правда и еднаквост за сите граѓани и функционални институции на локално и национално ниво. Тоа е се што им треба на нашите граѓани.
Граѓанското учество во креирањето на политики за добро владење е предуслов за градење демократско општество. Проектот, кој го имплементираше USAID, овозможи зајакнување на демократските процеси во нашата држава. Реализиравме многу активности поврзани со доброто владење, интегритетот, зголемување на транспарентноста и отвореноста на институциите, антикорупцијски политики, дигитализацијата, подобрување на јавните политики. Верувам дека заедно со USAID и со амбасадата на Соединетите Американски држави ќе продолжиме да работиме на зајакнување на капацитетите на сите полиња со цел да обезбедиме одржлив напредок и развој.
Како дел од напорите за подобрување на транспарентноста и отвореноста на локално ниво, Фондација Метаморфозис преку проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество успеа да обезбеди директна поддршка на 61 општинска и локална самоуправа. Локалните самоуправи заедно со граѓанските организации и експерти од областа на отворени податоци успеа да отворат над 300 податочни сетови кои што се однесуваат на буџетите на општините, на јавните набавки, на структурата на вработени, и сите овие податоци се јавно достапни на официјалната страница data.gov.mk.
Фондација Метаморфозис во рамките на проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество организираше 3 хакатони за отворени податоци. На овие хакатони се развија 3 победнички решенија. Најди аптека.мк за мапирање на аптеки, споредувач на цени на производи во аптеки, следи ги парите.мк за следење на општинските приходи и расходи, како и metascopes.mk за мапирање на државните средни и основни училишта. Овие софтверски решенија ја враќаат довербата на граѓаните во институциите и користат отворени податоци од јавно достапни бази на институциите.
Проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество ја зајакна соработката помеѓу граѓанските организации и институциите во клучните области кои го трасираат патот кон ЕУ интеграциите на земјава, а тоа се борбата против корупцијата, владење на правото и транспарентноста на институциите.
Ја зајакнавме отпорноста на локалните власти на корупција и судирни интерес. Во 10 општини спроведовме поединечни проценки на ризици од корупција и судирни интереси. 10 општини развија, односно усвоија планови за интегритет и ги зајакнаа капацитетите на административните службеници. Воедно, овозможивме бесплатна правна помош за повеќе од 100 граѓани кои се посомневале во случаи со корупција.
За наша среќа, USAID уште од старт го препознаа капацитетот на ЕМ-заедница како проект и ни овозможија поддршка за тоа да го реализираме на начин на кој ние го имавме замислено. Практично преку соработката со USAID, ЕМ-заедница од основна идеја стигна до тоа да биде дигитална платформа која користат голем број на општини во Македонија.
Со поддршка на проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество, успеавме да воведеме нов механизам за граѓанско учество, а тоа се советодавни тела на советите во општините, со цел да се подобри квалитетот на јавните политики кои што ги носат самите совети. Имплементацијата на овој механизам ни покажа дека истиот може да се користи во било која општина, на било која тема или област. Истиот е многу ефтин за употреба затоа што користи локална експертиза.
Преку проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество ги зајакнавме лидерските капацитети на преку 100 млади луѓе и ги поттикнавме и поддржавме да учествуваат во процеси на креирање политики и да адресираат прашања од јавен интерес во своите заедници. Дополнително, преку наградата за младинско учество, за прв пат го препознавме и валоризиравме придонесот на младите во напредување на општеството, а во соработка со Агенцијата за млади и спорт обезбедивме одржливост на оваа традиција.
Лид програмата ми помогна не само да ги напредам моите капацитети за лидерство и застапување на младинските проблеми и политики во заедницата, туку и ме позиционираше на мапата на експерти во моето поле на работа. Ми помогна да бидам препознаена, но и да научам да препознавам други млади лидери со кои заедно можеме да придонесеме кон подобрување на општото позиционирање на младите не само на локално и национално ниво, туку и ширум Европа.
Елит програмата, поддржана од проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество, ми помогна да стекнам доживотни вештини, например како тимско работење, адаптација, ефективна комуникација и така натаму. Вештини кои што можам да ги користам во организацијата каде што и работам. Горди сме како Говорим дека институциите ја препознаа важноста на младиве и токму ова година ја добивме наградава за младинско учество.
Со наградата за младинско учество ние организиравме една обука за млади лидери, која што е ствари дел од нашите редовни обуки. Меѓутоа преку оваа обука ние успеавме да возможиме на повеќе млади да бидат активни во општеството, да организираат активности кои што тие сметаат дека се добри за нив и за општеството околу нив, а при тоа и да ни помогнат да креираме други лидери во општеството, младински активисти, млади кои што ќе сакаат да се приклучат понатаму и да бидат активни во заедницата.
Општество е процес.
Кога би сакал да ги поканам панелистите на вториот панел да ми се придружат на динар.
Пред да започнем, особено сакам пред се да изразам дека ми е доста мило дека во овој панел со мене имам доста добри и пријатели и колеги од младинскиот и граѓанскиот сектор и да се надоврзам на оно што на еден начин го пренесе Анисија со последната порака во затварањето на претходниот панел,
дека сите реформи кои што се работени преку овој проект не само придонесуваат кон унапредување на владењето на правото, унапредување на политиките за антикорупција, туку на еден начин имаат за цел да го подобрат општеството во оваа држава, а тоа не може да се постигне само од страна на државните институции, туку потребно институциите да соработуваат со граѓаните, а особено и со младите. Пред да се впуштиме во поголемите дискусии, со оглед на тоа дека Анисија ја посочи важноста за учеството на младите во носењето на одлуките, дискусијата денес би сакал да ја започнам со Маријана Ангелова, генерална секретарка на Националниот младински совет на Македонија, кој беа еден од партнерите кои што го имплементираа проектот на USAID'S за граѓанско учество. Така да, Маријана, пред да навлеземе во деталите, од тебе би сакал да слушнам што беше постигнато во рамките на проектот и што е она што им треба на младите за Северна Македонија да стане едно општество во кое тие би гледале иднина, а не би заминале во прекуокеанските или западноевропските држави.
Ти благодарам, Филип, се надевам дека се слуша, би треба да бидам поблиску. Во моите припреми за овој денешен настан решив да разгледам малку и податоци пошироки од оно што ние како организација го обработуваме и да погледнем на истражувањето што ги работи другите организации. Забележав истражување за социополитичкото учество на младите. Тоа е истражување што ние младинските организации редовно го користиме во нашето програмирање, но решив да ги споредам податоците од 2019 до 2021 година, бидејќи во последните неколку години се поставуваат истите прашања во самото истражување. Она што е интересно и што го забележав е дека младите, односно 2% од младите во споредба со 2019 година, повеќе се чувствуваат и се опишуваат себе си како активни граѓани. Речиси 15% и ова е одличен резултат, преземале нешто за решавање на некаков општествен, одговориле дека преземале нешто за решавање на некаков општествен проблем и над 11% во споредба со 2019 одговориле дека некогаш биле вклучени во процес на донесување на одлука на локално ниво. Овие податоци покажуваат значаен напредок во однос на позицијата на младите во општеството и за овој резултат нормално имаат свој придонес сите чинители, но најголем барем јас мислам дека имаат младинските организации кои што континуирано се залагаат да ги позиционираат младите како релевантни чинители во општеството, да ги научат како да се вклучуваат во креирањето на политики, во носењето на одлуки, и да ги научат како самостојно да преземат иницијативите, да ги адресираат проблемите кои што самите се соочуваат. Нормално ова е една од целите на Националниот младински совет на Македонија, кој што напомена Филип, но и една од целите кои што ги адресират имплементацијата на програмите во проектот за граѓанско учество. Нашата, односно посветеноста на проектот и нашата посветеност со зголемување на младинскиот ангажман и на младинската вклученост во рамки на проектот ја направивме преку 3 програми. Првата беше ЛИД-МК програмата и преку видеото верувам дека слушнавте. Во оваа програма беа вклучени над 100 млади учесници кои што ги зајакнаа своите меки вештини, но и научија како да користат различни алатки за инволвирање на заедницата во решавање на локалните проблеми и добија можност она што е научено да го применат како имплементација на различни иницијативи за да адресираат или да решаваат проблеми со кои што самите се соочуваат. Јас сум горда што и ден денес се уште гледам дел од тие млади лица кои што беа вклучени во ЛИД-МК програмата, во граѓанските организации, на позиции на носители одлуки во локалните самоуправи, како председатели на општинските совети и така натаму. Втората програма која што имплементиравме за нас особено важна, бидејќи го вреднуваше трудот на младинските организации, индивидуалци и неформални групи на млади, која што и исто е спомената и во видеото, е наградата за младинско учество, која што преку проектот имплементиравме 6 години и наградивме над 30 младински иницијативи кои што имаат посебен општествен придонес. Но исто така важно е што институциите решија да ја препознаат наградата како значајна алатка за мотивирање на младите да се вклучуваат во општеството, па така од оваа година Агенцијата за млади и спорт одлучи да го поддржи Националниот младински совет да заеднички да продолжиме во иднина да ги наградуваме и да ги препознаваме активните млади. И последната активност која што ја имплементиравме во текот на минатата и оваа година, делум на оваа година, е полиси лабовите, односно формиравме полиси лабови во 8 плански региони во земјата кои што активно работеа на мониторинг на законот за младински политики и младинско учество и од мониторингот креираа своји препораки и придонесоа кон доследна имплементација на самиот закон, што нормално е плод од процес на кој што и ние како Национален младински совет на Македонија и сите останати чинители се надевам ќе продолжат да работат во иднина.
Ти благодарам, Маријана. Слушнавме од Маријана за тоа како преку проектот за граѓанско учество биле поддржани индивидуални млади со цел да адресираат определени проблеми кои што сами ги идентификувале во своите општини. Но сега би сакал да слушнеме од Баска Цветановска-Панова, представник на фондацијата Метаморфозис, која што повеќе ќе елаборира за тоа како преку проектот беа поддржани конкретни граѓански организации за да придонесат кон зголемено учество на граѓаните во носењето на одлуките. Така да Баска те мола, сподели со присутните за достигнувањата во поглед на оваа програма.
Фала ти, Филип. Да се надевам дека се на вистинско купче дека именно Горан во своето излагање кажа дека биле поддржани околу 150 граѓански организации. Она што ние го правевме во рамките на Метаморфозис беа поддршка на околу 16 граѓански организации и граѓански алијанси, односно мрежи, коалиции, партнерство од организации кои што нели работеа на граѓанското учество и покривање на од една страна на свеста, мобилизирање на население во однос на партиципативно донесување одлуки, но од друга страна пак и работевме нели на заедно со граѓанските организации, работевме на донесување на нови предлог решенија во однос на законите кои што веќе неколку пати се спомнаа на оваа конференција. Доколку треба да зборувам за достигнувањето на само на тие 16 граѓански организации кои што Метаморфозис имаше можност нели да ги на некој начин да ги води низ процесот, верувам дека ќе ни треба една иста ваква конференција. Ако зборуваме за сите 150, верувам дека веќе тоа ќе е во некоја летна школа. Ќе превезме во некој вид на друг настан. Но сепак нормално е дека имаме организации кои што со својата експертиза, капацитети направија добри промени во однос на овие 6 години додека се имплементираше проектот. Би сакала да ги спомнам достигнувањата на мрежата за фискална одговорност и транспарентност CIVIC, која што да речеме преку својот проект за партиципативно буџетирање успеа да организира 11 јавни дебати во 11 различни општини, каде што беа изготвени над 200 предлог проекти од страна на граѓаните и беа доставени до општините и до Советот на општините. Тоа беа иницијативи врз основа на потребите на граѓаните и можам да кажам дека 45% од тие иницијативи веќе беа и прифатени од страна на општините, беа ставени како дел од годишните програми на општинските буџети, а тоа некаде низ бројки би било околу 467 милиони денари преку проектот на УСАИД за граѓанско учество беа реалоцирани и наменети за неговите потреби. Исто така треба да се спомнат и организацијата, т.е. платформата КАФ, која што представува Општествена коалиција за правично судење, кои што водеа процес на правен, финансиски и физички пристап до правда, каде што имаа веќе воспоставен систем на мониторинг на судски случаи. Нивните активности во суштина беа спроведени на ниво на територија на цела држава, каде што покрија околу 1200 судски случаи, од кои што 600 судски случаи и добија развршница. Се тоа се работеше во програмата за поддршка на партнерски грантови, каде што организациите во суштина се јавуваа како лидери на граѓанското учество. Имавме уште една програма, односно уште една компонента која што вреди да се спомена. Тоа е компонентата за стратешка поддршка, каде што ги имавме тука Центарот за граѓански комуникации, односно Герман Филков, кој што не го гледам тука меѓу нас, сакав само да го поддржам со бројка, односно да кажам дека во однос на јавните набавки, во рамките на проектот за граѓанско учество дадоа директен мониторинг на 300 јавни тендери во државните институции и преку нивните активности во суштина дадоа насока за тоа каде постојат слабости во системот на јавни набавки. Со самото тоа дадоа 38 законски измени кои што дел од нив веќе се влезени во дел од законите. Има уште многу да се зборува, но знаејќи дека имаме уште еден представник на панелот со госпоѓа Невенка, која што доаѓа од ТВЦДП Штип, беа дел од овие компоненти, дел од наши грантисти. Можам да кажам дека успесите кои што имаат се наслуваат во суштина на адвајзери бодис кои што ги формиравте, тука имавме околу 8, поправиме ако грешам. Да, имавме околу 8 тела формирани, кои што тела кои што работат исто заедно во општините со општините, генерално на прашања поврзани за потребите на граѓаните, пришувајќи од туризам, екологија, имавме тука урбанизам и дел од предлозите кои што бија дадени преку тие адвајзери бодис или преку тие советодавни тела веќе и се реализираат и се влезени во општинските програми. Можам да кажам дека овој тип на поддршка на граѓанските организации е прилично потребен и успешен, земејќи во предвид фактот дека станува збор за општество кое што се уште во фаза на своје демократско зрење, граѓанските организации и како треба да земат учество во процесот на донесување одлуки од една страна, она што го го прави, да речеме дел од организациите како што е Центарот за граѓански комуникации, но од друга страна мораме да имаме во предвид дека се уште има потреба од мобилизирање на граѓаните во однос на партиципативното да речеме буџетирање општинство, во однос на нивното учество во донесувањето на одлуки, особено на локално.
Ти благодарам, Васка, особено за тоа што ми улесна да направам фокус кон следниот панелист. Така да сега би сакал да ја поканам Невенка Лонгурова-Џирова, извршен директор на Фондацијата за развој на локалната заедница Штип, која подетално ќе елаборира за нивните активности во рамки на проектот на USAID за граѓанско учество, односно како тој ефективен механизам за граѓанско учество, кои успеси ги постигна во општините со кои што соработувавте и како истиот може да биде апликабилен и за остатокот од регионите во државата.
Претходно и во студиото го слушнавте дека главните советодавни тела, меѓутоа одредена работа за да видиме советодавни тела. Од документите кои што доаѓа со Фондацијата за развој на локалната заедница работи на донесување на граѓанско учество во точка на јавни политики. Ние сметаме дека учеството на граѓаните е многу важен стратегички посебно од аспект на самата транспарентност на јавните институции, меѓутоа и на налагање на можностите од корупција во институции. Оно што ние го работиме во рамките на овој програм е тоа што ние сакаме да најдеме начин како да го подобриме квалитетот на јавните политики кои што ги дадат локалните власти во конкретниот случај СОВЕТ. Во таа цел одбивме да работиме со општините од Южноатлантски регион, обучихме советниците од сите 11 регион.
7, 5.
Regarding the topic for good governance and how to consult and how to involve the citizens in the process of creating public policies, in the process of public decisions. we were trying to achieve public cooperation, and we were implementing some kind of a new thing, how this will work in the municipalities, to have these advisory bodies. In this concrete situation, we've had local advisors with citizens, what was the topic they're going to work on, and we formed 8 councils within the municipalities in the eastern region, and they were working on different areas. The most interest laid in the development of urbanism and spatial planning, but there were municipalities where the concrete was corruption, or in some regions tourism. We use this process, in this process we use local resources from people that are working from the local environment. And what surprised us the most is that we had, there were willingness and desire to give their contribution regarding the improvement of their life within the local society. And many have tried on many initiatives to give their input, those initiatives that were put forward into the advisory body. There were around 32 initiatives, out of which 1/3 of was completely realized so far. 1/3 is partly realized, but we as an organization, we've put forward our resources so we can monitor the results when this program will be finished as well. And of course, there are many initiatives which were unrealized at the time, but now they are almost finished. At the previous panel has already been mentioned for some kind of accountability and transparency, and the most important outside pressure is the most important thing here. Therefore, we've worked with the civic societies. We've organized 4 trainings for monitoring of the local self-government units, and there were 51 representatives out of these civic organizations from the eastern region. I'm sorry. And as to these trainings, we've managed to put monitoring teams in these municipalities where we've planned these advisory bodies to be established at local programs, to work on local programs with the advisory bodies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nevenka. Somehow we touched upon the topic on successful stories, so we'll continue that way. The word on youth engagement is just one more example how to recognize their efforts, and it's being supported by the USAID Civic Engagement Project. For our next speaker is Anelia Mitrova, representatives of the Youth Alliance Associations from Krushevo. They were one of the awardees of the Youth Civic Engagement Award. So without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Anelia. Thank you, Philip. According to the law, we are organization, youth organization now, according to the law. I'm going to talk about the award that was granted to us on youth engagement, which is of great importance for us as an organization, especially for me, because the initiative that we are conducting, I'm somehow personally attached to it, about offices or Macedonian Greek for Youth Cooperation, following the German office example. What was the biggest success for me is okay, let me mention some numbers. 1,517 votes that we won on the very voting process. So the youth recognize this initiative as a good example for them, whereas the institutions in both countries are not that great supporters, maybe declaratively on paper, but we can see that among the young individuals there is interest on cross-border collaboration and recognition of the initiatives on both sides. This initiative is initiated from 2010, but with the signing of the Prespa agreement, within the action plan where the Office for Youth Cooperation was stipulated. So we were given a mandate to lead this entire process. Within this entire process, we are approaching differently. That is why our award gave us bigger visibility and recognition among the young individuals in our country. Why? Because we are working from bottom to top approach, not the other way around, to say it simply. So the young individuals were included in various activities in the last 2 years when the very award was during the period of the award recognition. And we had a series of podcasts where the youth could talk about these individuals and get to know with individuals from listening to the stories of their peers from Greece, and they understood there are more similarities than differences. So we worked on a very short survey, mapping of views from both countries, where we came to the conclusions that the youth from our country, when they cross the border, go shopping just on a holiday, and whereas the young ones from the Greece, 80% from they haven't crossed. 80% of the young individuals from Greece have never ever crossed the border to our country. That is why we need to deepen this youth collaboration. And each type of recognition gives us bigger visibility and recognition, which supports the youth that they need to get to know with the Greek peers, because all the political agreements signed would be just a dead letter on paper if we don't do anything about it into practice. And because besides a series of podcasts on different topics, some of which tackling the LGBT rights in Macedonia and Greece, organizing the Pride Parade, the student life, what does it mean to be a student in Macedonia, what does it mean to be a student in Greece, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, what is their lifestyle in both countries. That then we developed a program on learning in Greek language and Macedonian language in one mixed teams where they are learning in between of them sharing some known phrases, and we worked on promoting the culture as joint cooking classes for Christmas holidays, what is being cooked for Christmas holidays in Macedonia, what in Greece. That also we worked on the youth festival in Valandovo, where the youth were socializing from Greece and Macedonia, planting trees, dancing, listening to music, and getting to know each other through these activities. And to conclude, I would say that each recognition, each activity that we did is of utmost importance, especially in the category of individual recognition, because when we started with this panel, half of this conference hall got empty. So if we want to work and give recognition to the youth and that they are important, we should work on keeping everyone in the room. Okay, one general message would be, if we want to introduce the society in our country, key role is the constructive dialogue among the institutions, civic sectors, and the youth sector. Once more, I'd like to thank you for your addressal, and I'd like to invite Mr. Gora Lazarev, the director of the USAID project on civic engagement, to give his final words.
Thank you to all the participants in the first panel. And once again, I would like to thank you. You were much more time efficient as to the first panel session, and I would like to thank you. But I hope in next following occasion we will correct ourselves. Allow me in short, because in 20 minutes time we've passed this agenda. to thank you to all of you, above all to my team members and those that were past members and those that were our friends. Today, they shared today their professional biography with background. They had all actively participated in this process to give thanks to all their engagement for all the results that we've achieved together and to rejoice to the results that we've achieved together. But we see this not as end of a process, but the beginning of a new story with USAID and with the partners, which will in future go on in support of our country. As we know, the end goal, as one of the previous director of the USAID stated, it's not to is to have no job to do, and that is our goal. We hope that you won't be needed in our country, and we can manage with our own issues by ourselves. But in the meantime, it's very important for your support that we receive from you, and that it will continue in the future. Once again, I would like to thank to you all, to all of you that followed us on YouTube. I wish you all the success in your all endeavors, and much success to you all. See you soon. And of course, I'm inviting you to a small buffet at the other room.